We are on the verge of Congress once again refusing to rein in the president and assert its constitutional authority to declare war, which is indeed what we are in with Iran. Why, in your view, have Republicans who control both branches of Congress been so reluctant to rein in President Trump?
First and foremost, we have the precedent. You look at someone like Obama, for example. The candidate Obama, the senator, took the position that many Democrats are taking today with Trump that says only Congress can do that. Obama, the president, argued different. And so we have a modern era precedent that's sitting there. But I think the more pressing one that sort of gets to the heart of that question is, and this is the one that nobody can kind of figure out, once the president engages in war, once we've committed troops, you saw in Lisa Murkowski's statement on Wednesday when she released it, is we can't put our troops in danger because there is an American component now to this. And so I think from a Republican standpoint, we look out at this landscape and say, as Murkowski has said, yes, the president should have come to us first. He was obligated to do so, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And if we tried, we may cause more harm. And I think that political calculation and that human calculation is why you don't see Republicans rushing to go do that.
I think the difference with the Obama situation is that he still abided by the War Powers Resolution. You have to notify Congress within 48 hours if you're deploying U.S. forces. You have to end military operations within 60 days. We were talking about limited military engagements with that kind of notice to Congress. We're talking about killing Osama bin Laden. We're talking about limited missile strikes in Syria and elsewhere. Never this kind of engagement. Getting to the second part of the question here about why Congress has continually allowed this to happen. From my standpoint, as a longtime congressional staffer, I can tell you that behind the scenes, what inevitably happens is what you described. We get into an engagement, and then it seems disloyal not just to the troops that are in harm's way to try and stand up and say, no, we don't authorize this. You're yanking them back. It's like they're in the middle of an operation right now. So what are you going to do? Tell them don't deploy your parachute after you jumped? But you also end up in this position where behind the scenes, your White House contacts are pulling them aside on the floor of the House and saying, really? You're going to kneecap the president on this one, president, the leader of your party? You're not going to stand with him on this? And that kind of thing happens all the freaking time. And sometimes it doesn't even need to be said. And so presidents have used that dynamic to keep pushing the line back and back. Now, I think the failure in terms of Congress overall and this Congress in particular is there was discussion about a War Powers Resolution months ago, and Republicans couldn't get themselves together to do it. And that, I think, is because of the particular dynamics of this version of the Republican Party, where the MAGA movement has total leverage over the rest of the party. If they don't show up, then Republicans don't win any races. And so you can't live with them, you can't live without them, and you're stuck. You can't go against Trump. Once you've turned on Trump, you're essentially done. So you get this kind of survival of the fittest, where the only folks who are left are the ones who are willing to kowtow to Trump.
I also think there's a couple things that are important for this conversation. One, it's the target. It's hard for people to be against going to war with Iran. There is the case that they are a state sponsor of terrorism.
Yeah, what are you, pro Khamenei?
Right, exactly. The second piece that I think is an interesting conversation. Last year, when we did the bunker busters that, quote unquote, totally obliterated their nuclear capability, this was not some sneak attack. There was not some imminent danger that was staring us down. This has been a slow moving train that we try to have a conversation about diplomacy. And I think where Congress has totally failed, and where, quite frankly, Republicans have totally failed, is that if we have time for diplomacy, we had time to go to Congress. We had time to have these conversations. A real conversation in Congress about the authorization, quite frankly, probably would have made Trump's negotiating hand a little stronger, the willingness, and to show that Congress and the president were on the same page, that they would, in fact, be willing to go after Iran if they did not agree to not have nuclear weapons.
Let's close out on 2 points on this. First of all, we are mostly focusing on the failures of the Republicans because they are in charge of Congress right now. The responsibility is theirs. I will say that there are Democrats who will not hang together on this. There is a role for advocacy groups. They become a bit of a boogeyman, somewhat justifiably so, but AIPAC is taking a muscular voice. And we've seen recently with Tom Malinowski in New Jersey that having it, and again, I can say this is true behind the scenes, having a big money group in your ear behind the scenes, a lot of pressure on you, that can make a difference with some members of Congress. The other thing that I think we can close out on is a recognition that war powers don't sit alone in the realms where Congress has gradually ceded its constitutional powers. That's been unabated for the last 70 years. Every area where a president has seen the ability to expand his constitutional authority, to expand his powers, to rip that away from Congress, they've taken it. Who wants to give back that kind of power once they've grabbed it? And of course, Trump has gone on total steroids with this. War, tariffs, overreach on elections. The reluctance of Congress to try to claw that back is a broad failure that can attach to both parties. But I think it is fair to say that it is specifically a Republican failure right now.
The founders knew this could be the case. They knew the executive would try to grab more. Every president has, other than Washington. And under this Congress and this president, Republicans have their duties, and they've dishonored that memory of what the founding fathers tried to do. Quite frankly, it's un-American. And that's why I think Mike Johnson really has been one of the worst speakers of the House that has ever existed, because it was his job to hold this in check and to make sure the Republic does what it is supposed to do.